What's up, guys? So, welcome back to the channel. I've got Bandit with me. We just left Walmart. Now we're heading to pick up the boat. What I personally do before I even figure out what day I'm going to go fish, I start looking at the weather. Not so much for temperature or anything, but for wind direction, wind speed. Get antsy already. I mainly want to know what the wind's doing. The wind kind of tells me where I want to fish. If the wind's blowing out of the south, then I want to fish a bank that's facing the south, or fish a point that's facing the south. That way the wind's blowing right into it. Or whenever you fish a windy bank or point, there's always more bait in that area. Now, I don't know if it's just from more oxygen being churned up in the water, or if it's the food chain reaction, like it's stirring up all the sediment and the creatures hiding down in the mud, rocks and everything, and maybe it's, you know, the whole food chain's already there feeding, or what the deal is. But a wind-blown point or bank is always my first option. Personally, if it's blowing, I'm going. If it's, you know, as long as it's under 25 miles an hour, then I'm going fishing. I find that 25 miles an hour is about all I feel safe in my boat. Bigger center consoles might be able to handle a little bit more wind, bigger waves and all that. Mine starts getting pretty sketchy beyond 20 miles an hour. At 25 miles an hour, I probably shouldn't be out there. The last time me and my brother were out there, and it was a pretty steady, sustained 20 miles an hour, we were fine until we had those 25 mile an hour gusts. And water started crashing over the bow, and we started getting real wet. Exciting times. Doesn't necessarily make it safe. Doesn't make it smart, but it definitely keeps it exciting. And so we're gonna go get this boat hooked up, and then head to the lake and go catch some bait, get on some fish, hopefully. Alright. Dog out. He runs around and gets all the excess energy out before we get rolling. You ready? Load up. That dog loves to go fishing. My mind runs 90 miles an hour because, you know, ADHD, all that good stuff. And since I know we have a south wind today, it's more of a south breeze. It's like 5 to 10 miles an hour or whatever. Then I've already kind of planned for where I'm probably gonna go on the lake. For those of you wondering, I'm going to Eagle Mountain. It's a fairly, you know, straight north and south lake. There's only a handful of spots that are going to be wind blown, like directly, whether it's a north wind or a south wind. But I fished there enough that I don't want to say I have spots to go to, but I have areas to go to. Like a spot to me is like, oh, I'm going to anchor up in these same coordinates every time. Or every time I go to this area, I'm going to fish this one brush pile or whatever. This one clump of reeds. I don't do that really. I just kind of set up in a general area and try to fish the entire area. It's going to be cold this morning, y'all. My truck says 39 degrees right now. It's going to be cold. I think it's supposed to be cloudy all day. Good thing is I can probably find bait pretty quick still. And where I think I'm going to try today is really close to where I catch bait. Yeah, I'm no expert on fishing, but I do it a lot, so I'm pretty consistent at catching fish. So if you just kind of go through the same process that I go through, looking at the weather, general game plan. I don't just come up with one area that I want to fish. I usually pick a first area, a backup area, and spot number 2 or whatever, and then I'll usually think about where I might want to go after that, you know, to come up with area like 3, maybe even 4 in my head, and then just kind of let the day progress from there and let that dictate where I actually wind up going. At that point, things may completely change once I get there and start fishing. And sometimes these fish are hanging out in the deeper water, and sometimes they're up shallow. I have a feeling today they'll be starting out shallow. It's going to get up to 65 today. The water is right around 52 as of yesterday. So the shallows will still warm up pretty quick. So I bet they start off deep, and then as the day progresses, the fish will move up shallower. Which is kind of where the first area that I want to fish comes in clutch, because it's right off of a deep drop off. I'm kind of going for numbers today because I still don't think the big fish are going to be moving like up shallow yet in numbers. But yeah, you might come across a big one here, a big one there, but I'm not going to find the large numbers of large fish the way I will large numbers of smaller fish. a bunch of bait, a bunch of fish down here. That is a bunch of bait, and it's supposedly a bunch of fish. Watch that depth. That's how deep we are. It's fluctuating because of the waves. Right there. Shallows out. We're in like 5 foot of water up here. Kind of why I picked this spot. It's shallow enough, my anchors will grab. We're right off, like right off of a deep drop off. So there's supposedly a bunch of bait and a bunch of fish. We've covered weather. Now, I personally use shad because that's what the most common bait source is in this lake. For your lake, it might be shad, it might be sunfish, like bluegill or whatever. If you're up north somewhere, I've heard skipjack's common. Couldn't really tell you that much about up north. I live in Texas. Now, I don't recommend any artificial like bait bought from a store. Like no manufactured bait or out of that. Those little shad that you buy at Walmart that are for catfish, they're terrible. Junk. Don't use them. Stink bait has its purposes. Primarily channel cat, maybe small blues. I personally usually target blues with the occasional channel cat mixed in. Now as far as gear goes, I keep that fairly simple as well. As far as gear goes, I use whatever I have available already. I don't go buy anything special. It's just a cheap bass rod and reel. Nothing crazy. I do use Gamakatsu 8/0 circle hooks for most of my fishing, but I'm not using 8/0, I'm using like 5/0. Use a barrel swivel tied to, I think this is 12-pound mono. I have my lead, kind of slides up and down the main line. And then for my main line, this is, I think, 15-pound test, also mono. Cheapest mono I can get at Walmart. If you don't know how to use a bait caster, you can use a spinning rod. Whatever you have available, whatever is affordable for you, that's all you really need. This is 11:35 right now, so I'll give it until, I guess, about 12:05. If I'm not catching, enough fish, then I'll just pick up and move. And with that being said, you don't really want to leave fish to go try to find more fish. But if you're not catching fish, or it's really slow, you've been here for 30 minutes or an hour if you're fishing from the bank or whatever, and you're just not getting any bites, you better pack it up and roll on. Like, the fish aren't there. You can't just wait for them to come to you all day if you want to be productive. If you're just there to hang out, cool. I know guys that go fishing and they just want to go get drunk. It is what it is. Different strokes. But I give spots about 30 minutes when I'm in the boat. I might have missed the angle on that one. Let's go put it in the box. We got a fish right us. another decent one. Staying in that 3.5 pound range. Yeah, I found that hole now. It's not a very big fish, but it's there. Not too shabby. So that's why I always say give a spot, 30 minutes or so, and then see about moving on. Now I'm always thinking about where I'm going to go next. I was thinking about that before I even got here. So I already knew my next move if this spot didn't turn out. But it was right at that 30-minute mark where I caught one decent one, caught another one right after that. Finally got the other fish that's been hanging out in the tree to come out of the tree and come in. And I'm pretty sure I've missed 2 or 3 other bites in the process. But most of those didn't come until probably at least the 15-minute mark. Now it's just now 12:04, so we would be moving right now if I didn't catch at least one decent fish, but it didn't pick up for a little while because I drove over this whole area. So I got to stir things up, and it took a minute for the fish to start eating. I just had another bite on one of my other rods. All right, I'm back at home. So if you made it this far, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe, and leave a comment for what you want to see me do next.